Welcome to an exclusive Crown Council webinar. This is Greg Anderson, and we're pleased today to welcome our vendor partner 6 Month Smiles in the form of Tim Seig and our own Dr. Kent Smith. It wasn't too long ago that the Crown Council featured Dr. Kent Smith and his 21st Century Dental in Irving, Texas as a featured Crown Council Practice of the Month. Additionally, Kent is a very frequent contributor on the Crown Council email network, where he lends his considerable expertise frequently. And Tim, I'm told that you're the grease that keeps 6 Month Smiles rolling along. Welcome to both of you, and Tim, we're delighted to turn the time over to you today to get things rolling.
Well, thank you very much, Greg. We are very excited for this webinar, and as an organization here at 6 Month Smiles, Inc., we're excited to be vendor partners with the Crown Council. And that common thread, that common bond as we see it is, our providers and the Crown Council members are really the movers and shakers. They're the progressive dentists in the industry that are looking towards new services and new ways that they can help their patients. I want to tell everyone here a little bit more about Dr. Kent Smith. We're excited to have him as our clinical presenter over the next 40 minutes or so. And Dr. Smith launched 21st Century Dental during the 20th century, so 6 Month Smiles feeds his passion for futuristic thinking. He practices in Irving, Texas with a team of 22 where they live their mission, which is vision, experience, compassion, expect everything. They were the first dental office in the U.S. to win the Consumer's Choice Award for Business Excellence in 2008, repeating this honor in 2009. Although working in a multi-layered practice, Dr. Smith's passions lie in orthodontics and sleep-disordered breathing, speaking worldwide on these topics and being named a top 10 VIP by the Speaking Consulting Network for 2009. In addition to being a former premier aligner provider, Dr. Smith is one of our seasoned 6 Month Smiles clinical instructors. So with no further ado, I'm going to turn things over to Dr. Kent Smith.
Thank you, Tim. It's nice being here today to educate the Crown Council members on what something like 6 Month Smiles can do for their practice. I'm really looking forward to this. Good to have you with us, Greg.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
All right, let's talk about what we're going to do during this short webinar. First, we're going to find out just exactly what short-term orthodontics is, or 6 Month Smiles, and why we want to offer it. How is it unique from traditional orthodontics or other systems that you might have heard of? What can I expect? In the 2-day hands course, can I really start practicing on Monday after just 2 days? What kind of support can I expect after the 2 days seminar? And what will be my return? Is this something that I can profit from? Is it a significant profit center in my practice? And then how do I get started? Because that's really where many dentists fall short, is just flat getting started. As you know, crooked teeth are everywhere. They're in the supermarket, they're at the daycare center, and they're certainly in your practice. They come through your hygiene department every day, and I have a feeling many of you really don't know what to do with some of these patients. So do you refer? Do you prep? Do you do clear aligners? I'm sure some of you provide clear aligners in your office, but many times the patient will not be referred. They won't be prepped for veneers or can't be prepped, and aligners don't do the trick. Here's an example. What do you do here? Do you really prep these teeth for veneers? I think you would not do that, and this is the kind of case you might refer to your orthodontist. Now, would this patient go to an orthodontist? Probably not. Would aligners work well here? Well, I've used clear aligners for many, many years, 10 years or so, and I can tell you this is not a good case for aligner therapy. So I think everybody would agree that when tooth position is the problem, tooth movement is the only good answer. So let's just define it, because many people just ask, well, what exactly is this? They've heard of 6 Month Smiles, they've heard of short-term ortho. Our best definition is a cosmetically focused orthodontic treatment that is performed in less than 9 months using clear brackets and tooth-colored wires. So it's a cosmetic orthodontic technique that doesn't take much time. So why would you use the system? Well, for one thing, it's easy. I delegate almost everything in my practice with regards to 6-month smiles. These trays come back ready to place. It's effective, it's very predictable, and because it's short and cosmetic and less expensive for patients, they want it. So here's an example. You can imagine what the chief complaint for this patient would be. They don't like that lateral that's sticking out, and they don't like that canine that's lingual. So you say, well, this would be a good case for 6-month smiles, and sure enough, that kind of case can easily be corrected within the 6-month time frame.
And Dr. Smith, I remember at one point calling this before picture here a minor anterior crossbite, and I was quickly corrected by a clinician that said, you know, it may be minor to you when you look at it in an image, but it's certainly not minor to the patient. That tooth has been bothering her and holding her back and not allowing her to have the confidence that she's wanted for years, and so it's not minor at all, and I was certainly corrected.
No, that's true. Yeah, and you have a much more genuine smile on the right. Patients, those of you that take new patient photos, cosmetic photos when your patients come in, if they don't like their smile, it's a very forced smile. But after we finish, it's a very genuine smile. It's not difficult to get a nice, pleasing smile after they're finished. Here's another example. That tooth way over there is just I don't know where it's going. That's probably the chief complaint, but there's all kinds of issues there. And honestly, rotations and movements like this, when it would take Invisalign or Clear Correct something like 2 years, and maybe even longer, may not even be possible, you can do these kind of movements in about 6 months. So here's Don. Don comes in, and, you know, he's a good guy, and he's got a pretty nice smile, but it's not a pretty smile. And you can imagine what his chief complaint might be. If you met this guy in a dark alley, you might not like to meet up with him, but our goal here is to make him a little more pleasing, and you can imagine after 6 months, the girls are liking him a little bit better here. I think he moved his earring up. Oh, he added an earring. That's what he did. Yeah, so 6-month smiles creates the need for more earrings.
Completely untrue.
Okay, so what do we believe? Well, there's 3 main concepts, and first of all, we believe that everyone should smile with confidence. Many adults are trapped out there. They really don't know what they can do, so they're stuck. So we also agree that as general dentists, we can help them. You were told in school that orthodontists were the only people that can move teeth. This was voodoo. And you really, the way you were taught was to be given a referral slip, and that's how you treated crooked teeth. But general dentists can help. And then we know that adults with crooked teeth aren't stuck. Many adults think they are, and they don't think there's an option. So it's very important that you have a nice system in your office for asking and talking about this system once you started in your practice, for talking to every one of your patients as they come through. So how is it unique? Well, as you know, traditional orthodontics is about 2 years. I personally was in braces for 5 years, so I can attest to the fact it's a little bit longer. And it's a metal mouth, and we don't take 2 years, and we don't use metal. Well, as you can see who that is. That's Ugly Betty. And how did they make Ugly Betty ugly? Well, they put some glasses on her, but they also gave her some railroad tracks there. That's how at least America thinks of somebody as being unattractive. So that's America Ferrara. She's not an ugly girl. They had to ugly her down considerably to make her fit into Ugly Betty. So 6 months. Cases take somewhere between 4 and 9 months on average. We call it 6-month smiles because that's the overall average of how long a case takes. And clear braces. When you add those 2 things together, it has amazing patient appeal. Patients want something fast and they want something cosmetic. Traditional orthodontics doesn't provide that for them. This is really the cornerstone of 6 Month Smiles. This is the patient tray kit. I mentioned that it was very easy, and this is what makes it easy. Because we take impressions and send the impressions into the facility. We don't take any bite registrations, take any x-rays for this. We just send the impressions in, and this is what we get back. So because each of these kits is used for a specific patient all the way through treatment, it reduces stress. It certainly saves chair time because there's a lot of delegation that goes on, and it increases profitability. Anytime you increase delegation, you're going to increase profitability. So if you've got the need for another profit center in your practice, this is what it provides. Scott Luna, who is down in Texas, he does breakaway practice seminars, and he said, with the 6 Month Smile system, I've got more control over tooth movement, and I stay much more productive with lab fees around $500. So it's about a third of what the lab fee is for Invisalign, and less than other aligner therapies as well. So the primary focus, it's really I call it chief complaint orthodontics, but we're looking at almost all the time in adults a chief cosmetic complaint that can be done in a reasonable amount of time. So the items that we can correct in a reasonable amount of time include leveling and aligning the teeth, which includes extruding and intruding teeth. It's very easy with this system. The tissue goes along with it, so when that happens, you do get gingival margins that are aligning. So we correct crowding, we round out arches, derotate teeth, and you know with aligners how difficult that is to do. We level the gingival margins, and we improve deep bites. Those are some of my favorite cases to do. So how are they achieved? Well, first of all, the treatment goals are different. There are a few things that we aren't trying to do in 6 Month Smiles. When I have a patient that sits down in the chair and I say, you know, why are you in my chair today? What brought you in? And they're looking and they're pointing at the photo on the screen, and they're pointing at a diastema, they're pointing at a lateral that's crooked or something like that. And I say, so if I understand you correctly, it's just your front teeth you're concerned about. How's your bite? And almost every time, 99% of the time, they say, my bite's fine. So we're not working on bites. We do work with occlusion to a degree, but in general, this is just a cosmetic option for patients. The brackets and wires are unique. There's a system, a prescription for the brackets specifically designed for short-term orthodontics to maximize expansion as well as to correct movements and rotations, extrusions, etc. quickly. Now, I do get questions fairly often about treating kids, and it's really not meant for kids. This is meant for adults. As I said earlier, it's an adult cosmetic option. Dr. Vince Kokich, you may have heard him or read some of his materials, but he made a statement that I use fairly often in my practice. Kids should be treated idealistically, and adults should be treated realistically. And that's something really important to remember. If I had yesterday somebody email me from our website asking if I could treat their 10-year-old daughter. And I said, no, this is not meant for your 10-year-old daughter. Your 10-year-old daughter should be treated idealistically. So I love that phrase. I use it pretty often.
A lot of times we do these webinars and people say, okay, I get it, I understand. I see these patients in my practice every week, adults with crooked teeth. Walk me through what that treatment sequence looks like, and that's what these next 10 or 12 slides is actually going to take us from beginning really to end as far as what that process looks like. So I'll turn it back over to you.
All right. I think this will show you how easy it is and how easy it is to delegate. First, you do have to choose the case and find out if it is a case that can be handled with 6 Month Smiles. Then you go through a little bit of treatment planning, but honestly, the treatment planning is fairly minor because the wires do the work for you. There's not much thinking that has to be done. I'm not going to tell you not to think, but you really don't have to worry too much about that aspect of it. You certainly don't have to worry about where to put the brackets because they come ready for you. You then take the records, which is, I mentioned earlier, it's just some impressions, some nice polyvinyl impressions, not alginate, polyvinyl. You send the impressions in, and then you initiate treatment. The patient tray kit comes back. You get the patient in after about 5 working days in the lab. It's pretty quick turnaround. You place the brackets on with the indirect system. You do adjustments every 4 weeks. That varies sometimes, but in general, it's about every 4 weeks a patient comes in. You remove the braces at the end of treatment when the patient is happy. You make any cosmetic enhancement, whether that's bonding or whitening. You might do some veneers. Most patients are really happy once you've just done some recontouring. That's usually all I have to do is just some what I call manicuring of the incisal edges at the end of treatment, and then provide appropriate retention. That's key, and it's something that you need to discuss with your patient throughout treatment. Just like any other orthodontic treatment, retention is key to maintaining the teeth in the position that you move them. So this is what the braces on appointment looks like. It's really easy. We place some etch and then place some adhesive, just like you would place a composite or something, or if you've done Invisalign or Clear Correct, anytime you place an attachment, you're just placing some etch and some adhesive. You then put a little bit of adhesive and then flowable on the brackets on the inside of the tray. You've got 4 quadrants like this. You'll while your assistant is putting, you're painting adhesive on the teeth, for example, while your assistant is putting some flowable on each bracket, and then you place the aligner or the tray, the bracket tray, over the teeth just like this. You can place 2 at one time, which is the best way to make sure that everything looks level. You can do 1 if you want, but you place them over with firm pressure, and then you cure from the outside. Everything cures. There's 2 layers. There's a hard layer that carries everything to place, and there's a thinner, more pliable layer on the inside that helps adapt the bracket to the tooth. So once you've cured the teeth, you peel off that hard outer layer, and then you will tease off the inner layer, and the brackets are there. That's all there is to it. Then you put the wires in place, which is really easy, but these are nickel titanium wires. I think many of you have heard of nickel titanium, and these wires are very flexible. They have shape memory. I carry one of these around in my pocket. I'll show a patient what this looks like. I'll kind of bend it and say, see how it just bounces back to place? It's a very light wire. These are light forces, but they're resilient, and they do retain their shape memory. Those of you that are on Dental Town will know that these wires have won awards on the Townie Choice Awards. They're amazing wires that, again, they have a prescription for the 6-month smile system. This shows you what the shape memory does. So here you have a lot of crowded overlap teeth at the top. You place the wires. They follow the crookedness of the teeth. This is a metal wire so you can see it easier. But this is essentially what happens, and then after 6 months, the wire just straightens the teeth out. There's not a whole lot you have to do other than engaging the wires into the grooves of the brackets and then tying these down with elastics with little donuts or ties that we use. Pretty easy. As I said, the Townie Choice Awards have given us awards for the wires, but also for the brackets. These are called Lucid Lock brackets. They're very cosmetic. They do not stain. They're very good brackets. Sometimes the elastics, if you've got some heavy curry eaters or something, the little donuts can stain some, but we have the conversation with the patient just like you do in any other system. And these brackets, again, have the prescription for short-term orthodontics, so they will make sure that these movements happen in a short amount of time. And then at the end, we're talking about retention. There's really different ways to retain teeth. We prefer fixed bonded retainers as well as a clear Essex retainer that goes over the whole arch of teeth after the bonded retainer is placed. We call it the belt and suspenders approach. It's the approach that more surely makes sure that these patients retain their teeth where you put them. That's very important. You don't want patients coming back and complaining that their teeth move. So you put the onus on them. They have to do this. This is the fixed retainer. Again, it's made easy. It's an indirect system. It comes back from the lab the same way that you did the other trays. And so you paint adhesive, paint flowable, you place it over the teeth, you cure it through the tray, you peel it off, and the retainer's there. It's that easy. So here are some of the differences. Since I've done aligners for 10 years or so, I can be very confident in describing the differences between these two. With 6-month smiles, you do have unique clear brackets and wires, and they are clear removable aligners with aligner therapy, and that's an advantage to some patients. They like removing the aligners. The problem is it also creates motivation issues, and many patients, those of you that do these, you know that sometimes they just don't wear them. They come back and you're not getting movement, and sometimes they're honest, sometimes they're not, but removable can be a problem. It takes about 6 months on average with 6-month smiles. I know this slide says 12 months. In my practice, it's longer. I don't know why. Maybe I take on more difficult cases. I have some aligner cases taking 3-4 years. Case fees for the dentist are much less, up to $518. Lab fees for aligner therapy, as you know, if you do these, are considerably more, so we can charge less to our patients. We pass along that saving to the patient. And we can do that because it's also less chair time. There's less in the office. 6 months compared to a year or 2 years saves time in the chair, so you can, as well as delegating, so it's much more profitable for that reason. It's also very predictable. The movement is controlled. We can turn on a dime and do a refinement in 10 seconds rather than a week or 2 weeks, however long it takes to do a refinement. With aligner therapy, you just don't have as much control over tooth movement. With 6-month smiles, we do have a broad range of movement, extrusions, intrusions, rotations, and things that I've always had a difficult time doing with aligners are extremely easy with the system. And as I mentioned, there's just no patient compliance issues with 6-month smiles. Sure, you have to tell them not to eat hard things to damage the brackets and, you know, common sense stuff. But with aligner therapy, compliance can certainly be an issue. Here's one of my patients that was in aligners for 2.5 years, and yes, we got some improvement. You know, that lateral moved into place, the canine moved a little bit, that second bicuspid moved a little facially, and we got a little rotation of that first bicuspid, but patient and I got frustrated. We put 6-month smiles on, and just 3 months later, we're there. So that just shows you the difference in what you can do with brackets compared to aligners. You can get pretty frustrated. Extrusion's really easy. This shows in 1 month how well that upper canine is extruded, and in just 5 months, you've got those in place. And with aligner therapy, you cannot do that. There's just no way you're going to extrude those teeth, and you're not going to prep them, and this adult patient is not going to have traditional orthodontics done. So you have patients like this that would benefit from 6-month smiles all over your practice. Here's ENEIDA. ENEIDA is one of my patients that came in. She's in retail, and she didn't like this upper left lateral. That was her chief complaint. She just, you can see that's a very forced smile. So I have a few slides here to show how we progress through treatment with ENEIDA. This is a close-up, though, showing that lateral that's just hard for her to clean, picks up stain real easily. Crossbite. Crossbites are really easy to fix with the system. So let's move through 1 month. We show we're already getting some improvement with that crossbite. That lateral is moving forward. The teeth are lining up nicely after 2 months. That lateral's just about in place. We're doing a few more rotations of a lower canine, doing some leveling and aligning, some things that the wires just continue to do. In 3 months, we're already getting pretty close. We're trying to get a little bit more movement of the lateral and the canine. And 4 months, we had a breast cancer awareness month, and so we were giving out pink donuts to patients if they wanted to wear them, and she was one of them. Sorry about the slide we used, that camera lens had black dots on. That's not the patient. And then at the end of 5 months, she was ready to smile. She wanted to get her teeth straight and that number 10 fixed before her sister's wedding. And you'll find a lot of patients have something in mind, something they need to get fixed, some date ahead of time that they would like to get their teeth straight for. It's amazing how many stories we have in our patient base. So ENEIDA's happy. It's a very genuine smile, as you can see.
Dr. Smith, you know, a lot of people that are viewing the webinar right now, they're saying, okay, you know, this sounds interesting. How do I start to offer this, or you know, what is the training like for someone who's really never moved a tooth before? So maybe you can talk to us a little bit about what our listeners and viewers right now can expect at the 2-day course.
Sure. This 2-day course is designed to get you up and running on Monday. And what you see here is all of the attendees holding up 6. That's sort of our high 6 is what we call it. And in the 2-day course, it's nice to bring team members. If you can bring an assistant that will be handling a lot of this, it'll be much more easy for you to delegate this in your practice. So at the course, don't we have a list? Here we go. So on day 1, of course, we do the intro. We talk about the philosophy. Not too difficult there. Positioning, you know, we do some hands-on stuff. After we start the case, we show you how to put brackets on. We talk about bite guards, and we plan a case. And then on day 2, we talk about all the different types of cases, including space cases. We talk about retention, which is of course, as I mentioned, very key. Concepts of occlusion. We go through some marketing things to help you out, and then we review more cases at the end. So we go through quite a few case reviews so that you can know exactly how to move forward with a specific case once you get started. A lot of doctors will bring photos or models with them to the seminar, and we go over cases with them as well. They come ready to go. Those are doctors that are really interested, and they have patients that are in the wings just waiting for therapy. I love when I get questions like that during breaks and at the end of the day at a seminar.
Yeah, and we did some market research earlier in the year, and we polled the last 500 providers that had come through our course, and they rated it, the average score on a 5-point scale was a 4.5. So we're really thrilled with the level of clinical training, and our goal isn't just to have people come through the course. Our goal is to see them successfully implement it, and we continually hear from dentists really all over the world that that's what they're looking for when they take continuing education, is something that they can go back and actually apply and help their patients with. No longer are dentists really interested in taking on continuing education just to learn information. They want to apply it. They want to implement it. One of the questions that we get is, you know, what kind of support can I expect? You know, and we're pretty proud of the online case support that we provide. It's actually dentist-to-dentist case support. And so what we mean by that is, you know, if you come out of the course and you have a question about a case, you're just uncertain whether this case is appropriate for treatment or not, you actually have the ability to go online into our Provider Resource Center, and that's what you're seeing on the screen right now, where we are hosting our online forum, our educational center, etc. And we're going to give you a quick view of what some of these resources are that are there on the other side of the course to help you implement it. And so, as I mentioned, here's a doctor who said, is this, you know, patient suitable for my first case? Took some photographs, shared the patient's chief complaint online, and what you'll see is some of our clinical instructors like Dr. Smith, who's with us today, and upwards of 20 clinical mentors that are there, and they provide a response typically in about 24 hours. So dentist-to-dentist case support online. We also have a video library. We call it our 6-Month Smiles Educational Center. You can revisit any aspect of the original 2-day course. We've recorded it professionally in a studio and broken it down into little snippets for you to review any aspect of the training. And of course, we have marketing materials. You have the ability to be listed in our Find a Dentist tool online. We provide free posters and brochures for your waiting room and operatories, patient consultations, videos, as well as television commercial packages. But there are customized tools and resources to help get the word out. And Dr. Smith, I'll ask you to chime in on some of this too, but really one of the questions is what's the return on investment? And, you know, the profit margin that is, you know, available for dentists that are going to be treating patients. Really, one of the nice things is from the first 2 patients that you treat after the course, it'll really pay for your training and all your overhead. And so I'll let you talk about some of this, Dr. Smith, and where you are actually pricing it and how it's helped your business grow.
Sure. I paid for the cost of the upfront cost, which is, you know, some tools and things that you need to do this. I paid for that in the first month of treatment, so it was kind of a no-brainer. I've been doing it for about 4.5 years, since April of '08, and kind of hit the ground running. I've done more than 300 cases at this time. It's just, once you start doing them, you just start doing more and more because the referrals start coming in, because I see tons of family members and friends of patients that I've treated, because it's very unique. Very few dentists are doing this compared to everything else in dentistry. So you can be the guy or the girl in your area that does this. And so in my practice, we do between 8 and 12 cases a month, and we charge $39.50. That's kind of our cut point. I know that other areas of the country, we're in the Dallas area, and I know other areas are charging as much as $5,000. It's, I think, key to get just under what the orthodontist is charging. However, you're treating the patients quicker than the orthodontist would treat them, and cosmetically, so in theory, your adult patients would pay more for this. We just chose a breaking point of $39.50, and since I delegate most of this in my practice, it's just a very profitable. I have one operatory that's filled, one assistant that does this all day long, and another assistant that does it about half of the day. And I think at some point my goal over the next year is to have 2 full operatories with just this going on. I love things that can be easily delegated and that are profitable to the practice, and this happens to be one of my top 2.
So the combination of a low lab fee, you know, between $400 and $500, depending on how many arches you're treating, and the fact that you can charge, you know, between $4,000 and $5,000 for treatment, it allows you to really treat, you know, anywhere between 1, 2, 3 patients a month. With 3 patients a month, you'd add $144,000 to your annual production. I want to talk about 3 different types of people, not just dentists, but people. There's the hustler, there's the thinker, and there's the procrastinator. And, you know, the hustler is the person who moves their schedule around. They see an opportunity, they want to seize that moment, and they move their schedule around to actually take advantage of that. You know, the hustler is someone who, if they were to attend a course, you know, this month, next month, through the end of the year, could add $72,000 by just gradually, you know, slowly ramping up to a 3rd patient, or rather 3 patients a month by their 3rd month. And the thinker is someone who's a little bit more hesitant. They want to take in all the information possible before making a decision. So the thinker is someone who might start coming out to a course and treating patients in August with a natural ramp-up time of about 3 months to get to 3 patients a month. And before the end of the year, they could add $48,000 to their annual revenue. And the procrastinator is someone who has very good intentions, but just, you know, tends to put things off, not able to act with the urgency of the hustler. And so they may come on a little bit later in the year, and you know, this will be a recorded webinar for the Crown Council website, so you just have to think of this with an open mind as far as looking at where you are during the year against your goals. But the procrastinator, unfortunately, gets a late start, and that while they have good intentions, they just never are able to take advantage of fully take advantage of the offering and the opportunity in front of them. And so I want to talk a little bit here about our 2-day hands-on courses, and as Dr. Smith explained, they get rave reviews. Our goal is that you learn the hands-on clinical procedure. We spend a lot of time on determining and helping you understand which patients are appropriate for treatment. And our hands-on courses are $24.50, and you're able to take advantage of that by signing up to become a provider. That's the first step. And you can call us here at 866-957-7645. Dr. Bruce Baird, who's an expert in productivity and helping dentists be more productive, said, hey, there's no silver bullet to increasing productivity, but 6 Month Smiles comes the closest, without a doubt, the single fastest way to grow your practice. And we're excited to have that partnership with the Crown Council. As I said, we're two organizations that have progressively minded dentists, and we're certainly excited to be able to extend a professional courtesy. So here's how you can save $718. You can register with us by calling us or registering online, and use the promo code CROWN200. That'll save you $200 on your course tuition, and keep in mind that's for valid, it's only valid for new registration. So if you're someone who's already registered, unfortunately, we can't place that discount retroactively. And we're also going to include a free case. Your first patient tray kit will be on us, and so that's a value of $518. So that's how you can save $718. And Greg, I know you're always excited to be able to provide courtesies and value to your members. Any thoughts on this?
Well, I can tell you that the way that vendor partners come to the Crown Council is not because they ask, but because they are referred to us by the membership. And we appreciate Kent and Chris Bowman and others who have come to us and enthusiastically endorsed and recommended 6 Month Smiles to us. And we are enthusiastic about what you do, and even more enthusiastic that you would offer our membership a way to get started at a reduced cost. We're grateful for it, grateful to have you both.
Yeah, absolutely, and the sentiments are the same on our end. And I'll offer up, I realize this is a brief webinar. If you're watching and listening to the webinar right now, I welcome you to call 6 Month Smiles and ask for Tim, ask for myself, and I'll help field any questions that you have. We'll roll out the red carpet. Just let us know that you're from the Crown Council, and we'll make sure to take very special care of you and help bring you on board, fielding your questions and setting you up for success as a new 6 Month Smiles provider.
Thank you so
Tim,
much.
one thing I'd like to mention as well, since I am on the Crown Council forum, anytime if somebody listening to this says, well, I'd like to see some cases, or I have some specific questions, I'm available on the forum, and I'll be glad to help you in any way I can. I can show you any number of cases, different types of movements that we've done with the system over the years. So get in contact with me as well.
Well, Dr. Smith, any last words for our Crown Council members here as we wrap up the webinar?
Well, I can just say that in dental school, I didn't think this stuff was possible, and my only regret is that I didn't start doing this when I was in my 20s. Now I'm 50-something, and I just a lot of ground has been covered in dentistry that I didn't take advantage of. So whatever age you are, I would get started doing this, and I think once you do, you're going to realize that you should have done it sooner.
And Greg, Crown Council Director, any last comments or thoughts here as we wrap the webinar up?
No. Thank you so much for your time, and we appreciate your investing an hour today to inform the membership. There's nothing like pictures to explain a concept, and you both have done a great job. Appreciate you very much.
Well, on behalf of everyone here it's 6 Month Smiles Inc. here in Rochester, New York, and on behalf of the Crown Council, thanks for joining us. Thanks for being an active member of the Crown Council. And thanks, Dr. Smith, for walking us through your cases and the philosophy behind short-term orthodontics with 6 Month Smiles. We look forward to seeing you at an upcoming course. Take care.